Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today I'm in Scotland again. You see the flag waving up there. And here I'm at Dunn's Castle. It's a pretty famous castle. You can see plenty of people going in and out, even though tourist season in Scotland is pretty much done. It's almost all British people. And this is a famous castle. It was the shooting place for Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and also Game of Thrones. It was the castle of Winterfell. And then we also have Outlander, who was shot here quite a few scenes, as I've heard. Yeah, so it's a very famous castle. It's not very big. It's from the 1400, and yeah. But we're not talking about a castle today. We're talking about the Deanston Distillery. So the town is actually a bit over there, and that's called Deanston. Dean is kind of a lord, I think a lower lord, or I don't know, commissioner or something. And there was a town, he built a house there, and the town was built around that house. So they called it Dean's Town, and it just got shortened, and that came to Deanston. So that's where the name Deanston comes from. And yeah, the distillery is very interesting. So let's head down there and find out about the distillery. Behind me is a canal that actually leads 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers up the side and feeds into the River Teith, where the River Teith is a bit higher. And so now you have a height difference between the River Teith down there and the canal up here. So that's what they used in the distillery. They have pipes under here, and they use it in a water turbine. Back in the days, it was like an old style water wheel, but since 2010 they have a modern water turbine that produces a lot of energy. For all of the distillery is run by this water turbine, and also they only take about 25-35% of that energy. The rest is actually going into the national grids for other companies or other civilian use. And yeah, so this is actually a really nice place because they have the natural energy, they have the water. The water is so good, it's very soft, so they just filter out the bits, and they can actually use that in the mash tun for actually also producing the whiskey. The history of the distillery starts in 1785. Very back in the days, distilleries were not legally registered, so it was not a distillery, but it was actually a cotton mill. And it was quite a big cotton mill. It had 1,500 workers present on the site, and they were not just a factory, but they had flats in them. They had traders, vendors, and it was really these factories back in these days were small towns, small communities, and they all got supplied by the River Teith, and they had a big water wheel, and the water wheel actually was the biggest water wheel in Europe at one point in the time. So yeah, it was quite a big cotton mill. And yeah, in 1964, it actually got bought by Mr. Hepburn, and he didn't want to have it as a cotton mill, but he wanted to have a whiskey distillery. So this was the start of the whiskey distillery Deanston. They filled the first cask, or the first casks, in 1966, so it took about 2 years to set it up, and it got officially opened here on 30th of January 1967. So yeah, that was the start of the Deanston whiskey as we know it. And actually in 1972 it actually got bought by Invergordon. This didn't run that well. It only took 8 years until the distillery was closed down, shut down, and didn't continue to produce because it was said that the spirit was not as great. And it then got bought by Burn Stewart in 1990, and Burn Stewart reopened it in 1991 and followed with the Deanston spirit. It then got a visitor center in 2012, which I actually did visit. I think I visited it just before the opening, and that was my first distillery video that I filmed. I'm not quite sure, but I think Horst did the subtitle, or not the voiceover. So yeah, that was a really shaky and really bad video, not as the quality that we are doing today. In 2013, the following year, It actually got bought by the Distillery group, which is a South African group. You might know them from different distilleries, and they bought the distillery. So yeah, they're now in good hands because they really do like the whiskey business. And they now reaffirmed a little bit, so the officially not with the Distell group, but a subgroup of Distell. And so their sister distilleries of Tobermory and Bunnahabhain, as well as Deanston, are now in one group, so they can be a bit more independent of the mother company, and they can cooperate quite easily because they are in the same subgroup. So yeah, they are now a little bit of a subgroup of Scotch whiskey here, and that's really good. So let's get in and find out how the whiskey is made. The warehouse I'm standing in is a very, very, very old building. So this is the old cotton storage from 1780s, 90s, somewhere around there it was built. And the cotton had to be stored really, really warm so they could dry it so it didn't become any wet or didn't ferment or do anything funny with wetness. So they had to heat that quite a lot. So they had to insulate this room quite well. So it has really, really thick walls, and they used to have a garden on top of it with thick walls. So the heat couldn't dissipate that fast. So energy conservation back in the days. And nowadays it's actually very insulated from the outside, so in summer it doesn't become that hot, and in winter it doesn't become that cold, which is really, really well for storing Scotch whiskey. And it's not officially a dunnage warehouses because of not the stamped earth floor, but it has the same qualities, well, very, very similar qualities to dunnage warehouses. The distillery has 3 of these dunnage warehouses, and 4 of these dunnage warehouses and 3 rack warehouses, and they have a capacity of 24,000 casks. But they're not storing just Deanston casks. They're also storing casks from their sister distilleries. Here is a bit of Tobermory. Here's the brand of Ligic, which is also Tobermory, and then we have some Bunnahabhain down here on the floor. And yeah, a lot of spirit from the Deanston distillery also goes to other warehouses on the mainland and the lowlands or somewhere there. And yeah, so the distillery has a lot of bourbon casks, hogsheads, but also other casks like sherry casks, butts, and all that kind of good stuff to try to experiment and have a bit of cask variety in there. Let's have a look at that cask variety and try some of the Deanston whiskey. So this was it with the production, and we're having a little bit of a tasting. I'm sitting here with Murray Kerr, and you're the distillery manager here.
Yep.
But you've been working in the industry for 8 years. Before that, you studied brewing and distilling. Quite a steep rise to distillery manager of Deanston.
Yeah, it's been an exciting ride for sure, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. I can't be happy where I am now.
Yeah. But you've been working temporarily at the Tobermory Distillery?
Yes, spent about just under a year at Tobermory, yeah.
Okay. I've been to many islands. They are very romantic and very remote. How is it to live on an island for a year?
It's it's one of the most beautiful parts of Scotland, so it's amazing in that sense. It has its own challenges, mostly in terms of transport and things, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I would love to spend a year on an island. That sounds cool, but I'm not quite sure if I would be like an islander for life.
No, they tried to turn me, but I'm always going to be a mainlander, that's for sure.
Okay, so we're obviously here for Deanston. So what are we having today?
So we're going to go through some of the whiskies. We have a couple of our core range and a couple of our special releases, but the first one we'll go with is our 12-year-old. So this is just this one on your left here.
What is it matured in?
So this is a mix of refill and bourbon barrel. So you get the sort of the sweetness off of it straight away, the sort of honey, bit of almost heather as well. But with the 12-year-old, there's quite a lot of the distillery character still there. So you have the maltiness, but I start to get that sort of fruity aroma. I pick up apples.
It's really fruity.
Yeah, I get quite an appley nose off of it.
And I love the sweet honey note to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And then what you're going to see next is when we taste it is where you're going to see some of the real magic of Deanston. This is where you start to get some of this waxy character that we love to scream and shout about.
Oh yeah, it's lovely. I would have described it as oily, but now that you said waxy, I can just feel the waxy.
Yeah, it's a fine line. What we find, why we call it waxy rather than oily, is it's not an oily flavour, but adds to the flavours there. So it's a lot of the mouthfeel, but I say it's almost like when you bite into an apple, it's the apple peel when you first go through it. You're getting that sort of the oils from the skin and everything else.
Yeah, from the texture, it's oily, but from probably waxy as well. But from the flavor, you do have a bit of a waxy taste to it. Yes, but also a bit of a red apple, I would say, and honey.
Honey, and then start to get some of the cloves and things like that. A wee slight spice.
Slight spice, yes, definitely. But I would say it's one of these beautiful, easy, mild, fruity Highlanders.
Yeah,
I think that is like the typical Highlander style, I would say, minus all of that sherry that we got.
Yeah.
I do like it. So you said core range and special releases. So what are we expecting from Deanston? How is the core range going? What are you thinking?
So we've had a couple of adjustments in the last couple of years with core range. Like the 18-year-old never used to sort of really be one of our core range. We brought it on, and it's doing amazing things. So we have made some adjustments. There's no current plans to any sort of serious change at the moment, but as we evolve and change, we might find that we find another brilliant thing. Some of the experimental stuff we're doing at the moment might become something that are part of the core range. The whole thing we're trying to do is explore new sort of opportunities. So what might be sitting as a core range now might be different in 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. So how flexible are you with the core range? I mean, you've been. Are you still having anything with the Burn Stewart? I think you were running since '91 continuously.
So we still have some of the older stuff kicking out. Very much the traditional sort of bourbons, refills, sherries that are roundabouts. So very much the standards. We'll definitely be using as much as possible. Refill or first fill bourbons seem to be doing really well with Deanston as well. We'll be going touching on some of the stuff we're doing with the Virgin Oak as well, but as we're exploring new interesting casks as well, they could be coming in. So we're trying to be quite active in terms of not setting our ways and exploring things rather than challenging the news sort of thing.
Okay, you're doing a bit of experience, but you're not going overboard.
Try not to go overboard. You need to have your sort of your normal setup that's perfect, and then from there you can branch out and build from it.
Well, I think that a bit of a foresharing the last one is a bit of a bit dancing out of tune. I've not seen. I'm not quite sure if I've tried anything about that yet.
Well, hopefully you'll enjoy it because we love it.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. So that will be interesting. So what is the next one?
So the next one we have here is another part of our core range. It's our virgin oak. So this is obviously never been in anything before. There's no character sort of coming from a previous spirit. So it's purely the sort of wood and our distillery character that you get from this.
So can you compare virgin oak? Like, is it like the same step from like a refill to a bourbon? Is that the same step from the first fill to a virgin oak, or?
So we use as a virgin oak, and then after that it'd become like a first fill Scotch, which would be you wouldn't really hear it, but then it would be something similar to that.
But it has the same, like, is it the same influence as a bourbon, or is that different because of the corn?
I think there's similarities, but there's definitely differences. The bourbon previously definitely adds a lot of character to it, while the bourbon would take more of the wood flavor, whilst what you'll taste in the bourbon is like the really.
So this is more woody, less sweet corn? Or?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Because what you find straight away is it's a lot more woody, spicy on the nose.
Oh yeah, it has, but it's American oak.
Yeah.
If that would have been a European oak, I would have been amazed. Now I would have not trusted my nose anymore.
They still get that sort of that spice even from it because it's such fresh wood.
But I would have expected it more spicy. I think it's pretty, what do you call it? Pretty mild for a virgin oak. Usually a virgin oak I associate with like these intensity of a bourbon.
True, yeah. No, it's part of the job that our master blender has, is trying to select obviously the perfect ones, and this is what we're aiming for, and we're able to continue it.
So, cheers.
Slanza.
Ooh, I've had that before, but I can't remember that much. Spicier than I expected.
Yeah, black pepper and things like that coming through.
Yeah.
The spiciness subdues, I think, towards the end, and you start to get that sort of what you picked up in the 12-year-old, the distillery character, but it's originally the wood spice and everything else, it really sort of hits you with it.
But a lot different, yeah. The bourbon is really leaving its mark in the woods. This is, I really would have thought that is like, okay, bourbon is taking some out, you're taking some out, but this is different. Yeah. You have a lot more intensity of the wood, less of that bourbon flavor in there. Yeah.
The honey sort of is a lot. There's not the honey that you get from the sort of 12-year-old.
It's strange. I think it's not very common in Scotland, right?
No.
Because of this is not a 10-year-old, right?
No.
This would be a bit too hefty for a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
But in terms of flavor, it's I would say on par or even higher than the 10-year-old. 12-year-old.
Yes,
yeah, but even on par with a 12-year-old. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good stuff for amazing for a non-age statement whiskey.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to really prioritize with non-age statements. Is you got to really prioritize the sort of flavor and the flavor compounds you're looking for. The beauty of that is with like virgin oak, it can be really reactive wood. So I think you almost have to have that non-age statement, because different years, different seasons, you're going to get far quicker reacting spirits. So if you don't, if you stayed in an age, then you're going to struggle. One year you could be completely out of spec, whilst now we're able to really sort of blend it and make it into a perfect.
You definitely blend that in with total respect to flavor.
Yeah,
definitely. So on another topic, I've seen your sites here, and you have that water turbine.
Yes.
So a lot of environmentalism. Is there any plans to go like full carbon neutral or anything?
So 100%, that's the plan for us to eventually go full carbon neutral. There's obviously a lot of big steps to take there. Obviously with the electrical turbine available to us, our big focus at the moment is to try and push it, like using as much of this renewable energy source that we have. There's numbers of different ways in terms of e-boilers and different things to try and get our steam source to be completely carbon neutral as well, because that's normally the hardest part for a distillery.
Yeah, but you're trying to go electric there, or you're trying to go with I think other distilleries tried with what's it called, with the draft?
Yeah, they sort of like draft burners and wood pellet and stuff like that. But we seem to have a great opportunity here, so that's what we're really trying to explore at the moment. We don't have all the answers yet. So it might not be completely how we go, but definitely it's the idea we have in the back of our minds at the moment.
Yeah, it's you don't expect how much energy you need to fire up that still.
Yeah,
really.
it takes a lot of energy to heat up that sort of amount of liquid, so it's a very energy heavy industry, so the focus is to try and obviously reduce that.
Yeah, water is a bit of a strange energy. You get electric energy out of it, but you don't get any heat out of it.
No, sadly not. No, heat's the one thing we always want. That's the one great way to try and save energy. But we'll do what we can with the high turbine.
But I think the water wheel is always cool.
Yeah,
I think you said the water wheel also the after the water wheel you take it as a cooling part. Yeah.
Yeah. So the water that feeds the turbine is also the water we'll use for our cooling system for our stills as well. So our water source for our distillery is literally a stone's throw from the still house. It's not even a joke. You could throw into the river if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's great to be able to see actually our source just flowing by each day.
Yeah, that's a great source. Okay, so we had the virgin oak, and now we have that same thing as a
cask strength. Yes.
Nice.
So the virgin oak's already bottled at quite high ABV. So this is at 55, and it's only a wee bit higher at 58%. So
wait, that was 55.
Yeah.
That didn't feel like 55.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, it was really round for that. With the non-age statement 55, I would have expected a lot more alcoholic note.
Yeah.
Didn't have that.
No. But what we have here is the cask strength, which is 58%. So it's only a couple of percentages above, but it just shows you the complexity of like the different whiskies and how ABV is such a big factor in it.
So this is a special bottling now?
Yes, so these are our special releases, yes.
So the cask strength, does that vary, or do you mix a lot of casks to get the same strength?
Yeah, so that's basically, like obviously it's not just like we pick one cask and that's going to be the ABV. We'll pick a loaded cask, we'll vat it, and then that will become our cask strength. So we'll have a specific amount of volume that we'll want to make in bottles. We'll put that into one vat, and then that will tell us what our cask strength is.
So the different bottlings have different ABVs from year to year?
They would possibly, yeah. They likely would, yeah. This is our first one of doing this. In the future, we likely will have a sort of variance in it, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that is always the trouble with cask strength for traders like us. We always have to have a new product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people love that. People love the sequency of that.
Yeah. So obviously very similar to the last one, but I think with the slightly higher percentage, obviously you're getting a lot more of the aromas and smells coming. Maybe a little bit more alcohol there, but it's a really robust smell coming from it.
Yeah, it's still, I would say, a lot of oak, sweetness, vanilla. I like it. Slushy.
Cheers. This one you can definitely taste the alcohol, I think.
It's a bit attacking.
Yeah.
But I like it. It has that kick to it, but somehow it also feels a lot sweeter.
Yeah, I think a lot more of the sweet fruitiness appears in this one.
Our fruitiness takes a bit, but here it comes. I like it. I like it. But I'm still amazed at how that is 55. So we talked about the renewables.
Yes.
So how was the weather lately?
It's been great for water turbines. There's been a lot of rain as of recent the last couple of weeks. So being right by the riverside, you see it quite clearly. Getting to work can be a bit of a struggle in the mornings, but we've not had any major problems or anything. That was the main thing. But
yeah, well, I was a bit afraid that my tour is not going to happen.
No. As long as you make it, we'll make sure it happens. I guess the old famous quote is today's rain is tomorrow's whiskey. So got to go by that, isn't it?
A lot of whiskey by that measurement.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they had floodings down on the west side. And I think floodings in your area as well. But
yep, there's been some floodings around here.
But the Teith, is that like a graceful river, or is that like a harsh river?
It can be. can be quite harsh. It's one of the, I think it's the third fastest flowing river in Scotland. So at least the water moves away quite quickly, but what you can find, you get big surges from upstream. So if the water's moving so quickly, rain further west can suddenly be with us quite quickly. But we've obviously been here since '66 and we've survived so far. So,
but it doesn't come in here, right?
No, we've luckily never had that bad. That's so touch wood. Touch wood, that's not going to happen.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I've seen other distilleries where they had like floating casks, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, that's a different way of aging it. Yeah.
So nice. And now we come to the that is really. Is that legal after the what was it? Who does the rules with the cask?
The SWA, the Scottish Whisky Association. Yeah. So I believe it was about 3 or 4 years ago they approved all this.
Okay.
So it's very new and kind of exciting, and we're obviously really excited to show it to people.
So what is inside that?
So this is a 15-year-old. It's our standard 12, standard sort of Deanston. It's been sort of refills / ex-bourbons, and then it's had 2 years finishing a tequila cask, 100% agave tequila cask.
100% agave tequila cask, and that is the non-smoky Mexican stuff.
Yes, rather than mezcal. Yeah, so this is non-smoky, but it's one of the higher standards of tequila you would get. So it's not just any tequila.
Okay, was it difficult to get the cask?
You would have to ask the master blender. I believe it was Julianne Fernandez' big idea. So
you called Julianne Fernandez?
Julianne Fernandez, yeah.
A woman?
Woman, yeah.
Julianne Fernandez. And with that name, I think she has some connections.
Yeah, you'd say that, and then you'd hear her accent. She's very much from Glasgow area.
Okay. Okay.
Very different on the nose, isn't it?
It was a long time, and I had a decent tequila. But it's really strange. So you do have that your distillery character. You can feel that you have that fruity character. You have a bit of that virgin oak, that vanilla and caramel and all that kind of stuff.
It changes slightly to more like a more citrusy note. I always get almost lime, but
yeah, it's strange. It's lime, but I think it has a bit of a,
which I think is the agave,
earthy note to it as well. I don't know.
So I don't know. I've been told that the lime I'm getting is very much what the agave is sort of giving us in terms of nose. Okay. So that's the agave.
Somehow it feels, for me, it feels a little bit of a aromatic, a little bit of a phenolic smoky note, just a smidge of it. But it's totally giving a strange vibe to it. But I think the SWA was right. It feels like a whiskey.
Yes, that's what their whole objective is the fact that the whiskey should never be unrecognizable. You should know it's a whiskey. Yeah. It should complement the actual spirit itself without taking away.
Yeah, and not turning it into something else.
100%, yeah.
Like the herring cask.
Anyway, cheers.
How much ABV is that?
I'll need to double check. I can't remember exactly.
But it feels really smooth.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing, the comparison from all the 3 prior, it's a lot drier on the palate straight away, but it doesn't mean it's short finish at all. The flavors are still there. There's like that citrusy sort of note that I get and that coming through.
It's strange. You do feel that fruitiness from your character, but a lot less of the sweetness.
Yeah.
And as you said, a bit of a drier character, a little bit of a lime character, but for me, not that much. I feel a little bit of a earthy, spicy note to it, but not as like forward spicy as any of these harsh whiskeys. I like that kind of stuff if you do the experiments, but these special releases, are they with volumes?
They all have majority of them have a number of specific bottles they have. Each one will vary depending what it is, but then
But it's not like 2 casks or 3 casks or something.
No, it's a decent volume. We're into like a good few thousand bottles anyway.
So you're gonna bring them out like yearly and stuff.
Hopefully, the big thing we're always striving for is if we find something brilliant, then obviously we're going to stick with it. We're obviously never going to put out anything we don't think is brilliant, but obviously what we believe is amazing, the market has to also agree. So.
I think that product is the cask finish is always nice because now that you think, okay, this is good, and I think the market reacts to that as well. You only have the production time of 3 years, not like 12 years.
Yeah, 100%.
Should have thought about that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I love it.
So happy to hear that.
Thank you very much for showing us around, giving us all the information.
Not at all. I'm happy to have you guys here. It's been brilliant to show you guys.
Yeah, it was lovely. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. It was a nice time here at the Deanston Distillery. If you are interested in these bottles, go to Whisky.de or Whisky.com. You will find most of the bottles, maybe some of the special casks will be different in the future if you watch this in the future. And yeah, have a look at Whisky.com, Whisky.de. You will find the bottles there. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.